Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Eye of the Beholder, where we review the Dungeons & Dragons miniatures produced by WOTC and WizKids in the 20 years between 2003 through 2023. We will continue our trip through the Feywild with the Eladrin. I gotta admit, I went back and forth on whether to include the Eladrin while reviewing the Feywild minis, primarily because they are a playable race, and if you've been paying attention, I've been skipping those so far, which is why in my semi-alphabetical video order I've skipped over the dwarves, elves, and to a lesser extent, the drow. But the Eladrin are such an integral part of the Feywild, I decided to go ahead and include and review their minis. There are multiple types of Eladrin: the common Eladrin, also known as High Elves, the noble Eladrin, who have become so infused with Feywild magic that they take on seasonal characteristics, and the celestial Eladrin, both greater and lesser varieties.
WOTC gives us our first Eladrin in 2008's Against the Giants set. Called an Eladrin Pyromancer, the pose captures him just as he's about to hurl a conjured fireball at his enemies. Clad in brown boots and trousers under what looks like blue leather upper armor, interesting detail is that his arms are armored in metal. Is this to protect him from the fireball, or just part of the armor? Facial detailing is minimal but there, and we can see his pointed ears peeking out behind it from his back-swept hair. Score: Paint 14, Pose 13, Playability 14, Pizzazz 15, for a score of 56. The next three Eladrin miniatures all come from 2009's Player's Handbook Heroes Series 1 special set. First up is this excellent female Eladrin fighter. Dynamic posing has her mid-fight, longsword outstretched while her brown hair swirls about as she thrusts and parries against her foe. Her slim figure is armored in a combination of leather and chainmail, while her shield carries what I assume is her sigil. Above average facial detailing as well. Score: Paint 21, Pose 24, Playability 25, Pizzazz 22, for a score of 92. Next up is this female Eladrin wizard. Flowing white hair runs down the length of her back, reaching to the top of her leather boots. She also sports a pair of matching leather bracers to protect her forearms. Pose wielding an unusual wand, she stands ready should spellcasting be required. Note the spell component pouch on her hip. Facial detailing is okay. Score: Paint 16, Pose 13, Playability 17, Pizzazz 17, for a score of 63. Finally, we get this female Eladrin sorcerer. Based on both the icy formations at her feet and the icy translucence of her hands, I assume she specializes in cold-based spell effects. This is enhanced by the icy blue of her form-fitting armor, nice touch of the grayish wrap around her waist. Sporting the same white hair as her predecessor, but shorter, the facial detailing is better on this one as well. Note the blue headband on the forehead. Score: Paint 13, Pose 15, Playability 17, Pizzazz 18, for a score of 63. Interestingly enough, we get all four of our noble Eladrin miniatures in the same set, 2019's Volos and Mordenkainen's Foes. The first two are uncommons, starting with the Spring Eladrin. Decked out in shades of gray to convey renewal, I particularly like the feather-like detailing on his cloak. Standing at ease with his right hand resting on his weapon while he converses with a small bird perched on his left. Face is serene but alert as he gets the latest intel from his feathered friend. Score: Paint 15, Pose 20, Playability 17, Pizzazz 20, for a score of 72. In contrast, the uncommon Autumn Eladrin is a vision of reds and oranges signifying the forest's changing foliage prior to the first snowfall. She's not quite the picture of peace as her brother, drawing down with her bow as she sights along the arrow's shaft. I like her upswept blonde hair, and her facial detailing is actually the best of the four. Nice bit of realism, leaving her arms and shoulders bare to allow for better flexibility to wield her weapon. Score: Paint 22, Pose 16, Playability 17, Pizzazz 21, for a score of 76. Our first rare is this summer Eladrin. Burnt orange in color, except for the brown boots. WizKids gives this mini a generous dark wash to highlight the many details of his clothing and body. Pose as if about to launch into battle, and yes, the backward pose seems to be intentional. He roars his battle cry as he charges. And of course, how can you not note the blazing sword? It's a solid mini, but for a rare, it should have been better. Score: Paint 15, Pose 14, Playability 17, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 59. Our final mini is, of course, the Winter Eladrin. Now, this is the kind of detailing we should expect on a rare. Her long black tunic over black trousers and boots is intricately detailed in white patterns, while her matching black coat has white fur lining along its edges. Standing with bow in hand, she waits placidly for, well, somebody. Whether friend or foe, she is ready. Score: Paint 25, Pose 20, Playability 17, Pizzazz 22, for a score of 84. Brillani are the wildest of the celestial Eladrin and are considered among the lesser of the celestials. Our first Brillani mini comes from 2006's Blood War set, and he is loaded for bear, bow strapped to his back while he draws his sword. Well done, WOTC, for setting the scabbard on the left hip, as it allows for a cross-body draw with his right hand. Dressed in a loose-flowing blue skirt under a wide leather belt, he is mostly bare-chested, with just a bit of metal armor on his sword arm. White hair and a stern expression complete the look. Score: Paint 18, Pose 18, Playability 17, Pizzazz 18, for a score of 71. Two years later, WOTC gives us our second Brillani in 2008's Dungeons of Dread set. Wearing the same blue-brown coloring of the previous mini, but with the blue tunic swept back, exposing bare legs over brown boots. Armed with a longbow, he is posed in classic archer position, slight lean forward, bow outstretched in his left hand as his right is pulled back. The absence of an arrow indicates that he has just loosed it. Score: Paint 20, Pose 20, Playability 17, Pizzazz 19, for a score of 76. Gael are the knight-errants of the celestial Eladrin, acting as the eyes, ears, and sometimes conscience of the greater Eladrin. We get our first Gael Eladrin in 2005's Angel Fire set. WOTC gives her an interesting pose. Right hand held raised high above her head, while her left clutches a wavy-bladed longsword, point down. Her long black hair swirls behind her back and reaches down to her boots. The hair's movement matches her white dress as she whirls clockwise to confront a foe. Armored arms, two-tone breastplate, and just a hint of bare leg complete the look. Score: Paint 21, Pose 23, Playability 17, Pizzazz 24, for a score of 85. Our final miniature comes in WOTC's Monster Manual Dangerous Delve set of 2009. Called a Gael of Winter, her clothing certainly matches the season. Garbed in a hooded white cloak that stretches to her feet, WOTC adds a bit of gloss to give it an icy appearance. She appears to be wearing a silver tunic under her cloak. It doesn't look like armor to me. Pose is intriguing, head cocked to one side as she almost looks like she's caressing her sword. Nice face as well. Score: Paint 19, Pose 18, Playability 17, Pizzazz 22, for a score of 76.
And with only 12 Eladrin minis, we're done. Well, technically there are 13, but I missed that Zyblina, whose mini we reviewed in the first Feywild video, is an Archfey and hence Eladrin. Thanks as always for watching. Like and comment if you feel the need. We'll be finishing with the Feywild in the next video. Eye of the Beholder. Adios.